XV1 up for critical review is Jordan Maxwell on Manly P. Hall.
Manly P. Hall was not only a personal friend of mine that I used to go to his home, but when he passed away in his will, I was called by Obadiah Harris, who was at that time the president and chairman of the board of the Manly P. Hall Philosophical Research Society. It's a big university in Los Angeles on Los Feliz Street. And I got a phone call. I was working at the Truth Seeker Company in San Diego, and Obadiah said, "Jordan, Mr. Hall left a will, and you were in it, and he has left you something very valuable, and he wanted you to have it." And I said, "Obadiah, what did he leave me?" He said, "I'm not going to tell you. You just come up here and you'll see it." So I immediately got in my car that day and drove up to Los Angeles from San Diego and went over, because I've been to Mr. Hall's library hundreds of times just over the years I've been there, and used to go there on Sundays and hear Mr. Hall's lectures and talks. I was fascinated by the brilliance. This is what I've been looking for all my life. Somebody who had the answers. Somebody who knew what the words meant and broke down the etymology of the concepts of where these ideas have come from. Well, that was the tremendous work Mr. Hall had done. And so when I got there to find out what he had left me, in his will, Mr. Hall left me all of his research volumes. They were his research journals. And there was I don't even know, maybe 150 of them, beautiful journals with all of his research in them. And going all the way back to 1936 to the day he passed. And he left it all personal present to me. And so that shocked me. I was actually rather taken back. I was shocked that such a phenomenal treasure Mr. Hall would personally leave to me in his will. And so I not only knew Mr. Hall personally, I used to, as a matter of fact, just a few months before he passed away, I gave him an award. I was part of an organization called US of A, United Sensitives of America. And I was on the governing body of the organization, and it was a large group of different, what we call sensitives, psychics, researchers, historians, numerologists, all kinds of interesting people, some of them writers for television, etc., on esoteric and occult subjects. And I was on the board of directors with that organization. And so we had a big, every year we would have a big we'd have not a fundraiser, but we'd have a big award dinner where we would give awards to certain people who have done, very big things for the human family, teachers and lecturers and researchers, etc. And so I suggested Mr. Hall, and we did give him an award, and he was there that night. And I was so absolutely delighted I was able to introduce Mr. Hall, my dear friend, and not knowing that he was leaving me all his research journals and the will. But yes, I knew Mr. Hall, and he was an incredibly brilliant man. I do believe, and it's just my personal belief, that Mr. Hall was probably one of the most incredible spiritual minds that has ever visited our earth. This man could speak for hours upon hours on all the intricacies of religion, theologies, concepts, and belief systems, of where they came from and what they meant and how to understand them in relation to today's world. And my God, he must have written 50 or 60 books and hundreds of articles, and given thousands of lectures, quite literally around the world and through his own college and university. The man was an astoundingly brilliant, in theories and understanding religions and government and historians. There's no one like him. There's never been anyone like him.
Right.
And we talk about the great philosophers of the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans and all of that. But as far as I'm concerned, there's nobody came close to Mr. Manly P. Hall, who was a brilliant and wonderful and dear man, and he was a dear friend of mine. And so I'm just amazed that I even got to know him. But he was the answer a long time ago to, I knew that there was information out there in the world, and I wanted it so bad. As the scripture says, knock and it will be open, and seek and you will find. Ask and it will be given. Well, I was seeking and knocking and going to every church I could, every group, every research society, wherever I could go to hear speakers explain to me the world I live in. Nobody ever accomplished that. Nobody ever knew enough to tell me anything. So I was just wasting my young years going to churches where nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody had the faintest idea about what I'm talking about, until I met Mr. Hall, who that's all he did was explain the world to you. Everything, where all the religions have come from, where all the philosophies came from, what they meant, what the words meant, the etymology of the terms. It was such an extraordinary experience. And from there, that was in my 18, 19-year-old. And then from there, I began to go deeply. Now that I know the basics, now I know what's going on here. And I understand the lies and the deception that the world believes because they don't know. This is why, like I said before, if you go to a church today, people will ask you, oh, are you a believer? Yes, I'm a believer. And so, oh, well, how long have you been a believer? And so they have books in church libraries and church bookstores called, with the term believer in it. A lot of the books are called Believer's House of Faith or Believer's this or Believer's that. It implies you believe something, which implies you don't know anything, but you believe something. I don't want to believe. I have been too often I have been misled. Why? Because I didn't know. And I thought that these people who were older than me, they have white and gray hair, and I assumed they were the teachers. I listened to them, and then I would ask them questions, and then they would look at me as a child like a deer in the headlights of a car. They had no idea what I'm talking about. Right. And so therefore, like Albert Einstein said one time in one of his books, he said the teachers used to tell us that we had to answer their questions. But I asked, how come you can't answer our questions? And that's what I felt. I have questions that the teachers of religion couldn't answer. Why? Because they're too simple-minded. Just a child would think of them. And I would I just ask a question, and the priest would look at me like I'm a fool. I got 3 heads because he didn't know how to answer the question. I would ask my parents. I would ask people all around me, adults. Nobody seemed to know what they were doing. And so therefore, I pretty much assumed that grown-ups are just grown up in body, but in their minds, they're still children. They don't know anything. I want to know. I want to prove it. I want somebody to show me what it is that's happening and prove it to me so I can understand it correctly. Now begin to mature, not just your body, but your mind, and begin to question things. And if you really want to know, and if you're intellectually honest and are ready to hear the real truth, it's out there. All you need to do is just go ask and it will be given. Knock and it will be open. Seek and you will find.
Right. And what was really interesting about Mr. Hall is that he had, people point to the patronage he had, which was extremely helpful in collecting the baseline of what he collected in that library for certain. But the fact is, this guy knew where to go, too. He traveled all over the world, even during the time of the Depression, when the Depression was worldwide. Yeah. It wasn't just in America. And he went and found some very unique things that are in that library.
Did he ever?
Yeah.
It was enormous. His personal library, if you've ever been to the Philosophical Research Society, which is a university-type school that Mr. Hall set up, and he had his own personal library, which was a two-story high, walls and walls and walls of reference books from all over the world on every subject you can imagine. But that was the public side of his personal library. He allowed the public to see. But if you go behind the scenes, he had another library at PRS that nobody gets to see. And it was his personal library, which is, again, filled with walls of massive volumes. And there was I couldn't think of a subject that asked him that he could not sit down for 90 minutes to 2 hours and explain it in minute detail and show you exactly where things have come from, exactly what the words meant in the ancient Roman Empire as opposed to the Babylonian Empire, and what these words and terms and ideas and phrases that you hear today in religions, where they actually came from, and they don't mean what you thought they did. And boy, when I started waking up to the fact that, man, there has been a world of knowledge hidden from the human family. My God, how much that you don't know, that you've never been told, that is overwhelming and obvious when somebody finally shows it to you.